please subscribe my channel. When my wife Sarah pulled me along to her company's yearly party, I knew I was walking into a room full of folks who really liked her. Sarah worked in public relations. She was friendly, outgoing, and full of energy. But recently, that energy had been directed at everyone but me. Even so, I tried to push away the worry, telling myself I was just imagining things. As soon as we stepped into the grand hall, her co-workers gathered around her, and I started to fade into the background. She introduced me to a couple of people, then wandered off, smiling widely, tossing her hair, and enjoying all the focus like she was the main character in a film. I stood there quietly, waiting for her to come back to me. She never did. My doubts grew into real unease when a tall guy in a fancy suit came over to her. His name was Ryan, one of her co-workers, the type who loved being the focus of women's attention. I had met him before, too sure of himself, too hands-on, too pushy. Worse, Sarah seemed to like it. She leaned closer when he talked, flipped her hair, and laughed in a way I hadn't heard from her in a long time. People around them noticed. Some gave knowing smiles, others whispered. I stood there with 2 glasses of champagne in my hands, looking like a husband who was just there for show. I did not react right away. I just watched how she put her hand on his arm, how she let him lean in and talk softly in her ear, how she never looked over to see if I was paying attention. She was caught up in the show, the playful flirting, the praise, the excitement. I was not jealous. I was let down. It hurts in a different way when your spouse behaves like she's single while still wearing your wedding band. At one moment, she looked at me across the room. For a brief second, I thought I saw a flash of regret on her face, as if she knew she had gone too far. Then Ryan said something else, and she laughed out loud, covering her mouth in that over-the-top way she does when she's teasing someone. Soon after, she turned her back to me. That simple move felt huge. Her co-worker, Megan, came up to me with a kind expression. "Are you all right?" she asked quietly. I nodded. "Sarah's just really happy tonight." Megan let out a sigh and shook her head. "She's going too far with this. Ryan has a reputation for going after married women. You deserve more than that." Her straightforward words hurt more than Sarah's actions because they proved what I feared. Everybody saw it. Everybody knew. And everybody figured I was the one who looked foolish. I kept my cool. I did not want to cause a big scene. I did not want to fight. I did not want to let Sarah see that she could upset me so easily. So, I sat there quietly drinking my champagne, watching the evening fall apart. Ryan drew her near during a slow dance. She did not pull away. His hand was on the lower part of her back. She leaned in to say something in his ear, while coworkers looked on with surprised eyes and quiet chuckles. Then she did something I could not overlook. During a group toast, she raised her glass and said clearly enough for many in the room to hear, "To great guys, the ones who know how to make a woman feel special and full of life, unlike my dull husband right there." The room fell quiet. All eyes turned to me, waiting to see what I'd do. Sarah grinned and sipped her drink, leaning proudly against Ryan's arm like she had scored a point. I put my glass down carefully. My expression stayed neutral. I walked over to her, and with each step, her grin disappeared. Ryan stood taller, looking less sure of himself. She thought I'd yell, argue, or get mad. Instead, I reached out, took off my wedding ring, and placed it softly in Sarah's palm. The room became completely silent. She looked at the ring as if she did not understand. "What does this mean?" she asked in a shaky whisper. I looked her in the eyes, calm and firm. "The second you decided to embarrass me in front of your coworkers, you chose your path. Now I'm choosing mine." She opened her mouth to speak, but nothing came out. Ryan stepped away, clearly wanting to avoid any trouble. I went on, in the same steady voice. "If you want to play around and pretend you're single, I won't stand in your way. But not while you're my wife." The guests stood still. Some seemed shocked. Some looked almost relieved. Others appeared as if they had expected this to happen eventually. Sarah looked pale and taken aback, all her boldness gone. She tried to brush it off with a laugh. "Come on, it was only a joke," she said. But her voice broke in the middle. I shook my head. "A joke is funny when people laugh along. Tonight, the only one laughing was you." She grabbed my arm, looking worried. Please don't go. I didn't mean it that way. I'd had a few drinks. I didn't think you'd get so upset. Her fear showed more with each word. People watched closely, seeing a woman who had just realized she had gone over a line she could not cross back. I gently moved my arm away. You didn't think about me once tonight. Not when you flirted. Not when you made me look bad. Not when you raised your glass to other men. That wasn't just the drinks. That was your decision. Tears filled her eyes right away. Ryan made an awkward sound and slipped back into the crowd like he wanted no part of it. The people who had been chuckling with Sarah before now looked away from her. When I started to leave, Sarah held my hand again, her fingers shaking. Please don't leave me, she whispered. Please, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. I'll make it right. I'll do whatever it takes. Her voice was rough, full of panic. I slowly freed my hand. Respect isn't something you ask for after you ruin things. It's something you show before any harm is done. I walked out of the grand hall without glancing back. My footsteps echoed in the corridor, and with each one toward the door, I felt better. Behind me, I heard soft crying. Hers. I did not turn around. I did not have to. The point was clear, the kind that only actions can make. The cool night air touched my face as I went outside. I breathed deeply and saw things plainly. Sometimes you don't have to yell, battle, or debate to make yourself understood. Sometimes staying quiet speaks the loudest. And for the rest of her days, Sarah would recall the evening she flirted openly with another man in front of everyone, and the evening her husband quietly put his ring in her hand and left, leaving her world standing still behind him.